And that's what you do in Sweden, even when it's raining. Okay, so we're going to start with setting the scene. Oh, I'm an information security expert and a privacy expert, and I'm quite suitably qualified, of course.
We're going to start discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right? Now, men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything. We've got a box for the car. We got a box for the money. We got a box for the job. We got a box for you. We got a box for the kids. We got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is the boxes don't touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box, we pull that box out, we open the box, we discuss only what is in that box. All right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes. Sorry, my Catholic upbringing got in there for a minute, but I'm not a Catholic, but I went to Catholic school when I was little. I had a nun who taught on hell like she was born and raised there. I mean, I'll never forget it, but it did me good, actually. It was a good thing. Now, women's brains are very, very different from men's brains. Women's brains are made up of a big ball of wire. And everything is connected to everything. The money's connected to the car, and the car's connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother, and everything's connected to everything. It's just like... It's like the internet superhighway, okay? And it's all driven by energy that we call emotion.
So basically, men live in boxes and women don't. So how many of you have actually been on a course to help you get out of the box? You know, creative thinking, innovation. Anyone? Yeah? How many women? Yeah, okay, so there's been quite a few of us. Now, what I'm going to be talking about now, apart from the women thing, because it's to do with the women thing, is that, you know, I don't want to scare you, especially you guys that live in boxes, but, you know, in my world, there is no box. So, you know, sending us on courses to think out of this proverbial box is a waste of your time and a waste of everyone's time, particularly women who don't live in boxes to start with. No wonder why we're getting so frustrated. Huh? So I'm going to take you on a journey now on why I think this way. I'm going to try and provide you some evidence on not just what my thinking, but research and stuff. Yeah, I've got some books to give away. It's a bit old, it's 2009. I'll sign it afterwards if you want to, but anyone know where this is? Want a clue? CERN. Who said CERN first? Okay. Yeah, it's CERN. And what they have at CERN that is unique is they have a strong desire to find the answer. And I was thinking, okay, what drives, if we're thinking about sending us all on a course to think out of a box, isn't that, what really is innovation? What drives us to find new ideas? What drives us into creativity if it's not thinking out of the box? So I started thinking about, okay, what about my journey? I was working at CERN for 4 years. And they are spending, these guys there, I used to come to the cafeteria at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there would be the physicists there before me with all their bloody formulas writing on the tablecloths, trying to understand why are we here today. There's an imbalance of positive matter and negative matter, because they should be balanced, but we're still here today. But when the Big Bang happened, we are here because there was an imbalance. And this is basically what CERN's about, trying to understand this. They are driven to find the answer. And this drive is so strong that it brings together cultures, gender, and opinions, cultural beliefs, religious beliefs. We all sit there together and we try to solve a problem. And none of these guys actually go on courses on how to think out of the box. Yeah, because diversity breeds innovation. So then I was thinking a little bit, I'm still in Switzerland now. And of course, Einstein, he spent some time in Switzerland. And he spent some time, he actually pissed off the university where he took his master's when he wanted to take a PhD. So he had to spend time at the patent office to studying his PhD when he was working at the same time. And what was happening when he was there is that there was an awful lot of patents coming in of inventors trying to give a solution to why is the time in clocks, because Switzerland have a thing about clocks, why it's not synchronizing, why they just wanted the clock in Geneva to synchronize with Zurich and Basel, but it just wasn't happening. And so he was doing his PhD whilst all these patents were coming in. And what happened is that a context was forced upon him. He didn't want to be there working at the same time he's doing a PhD, but the external context of all of these patents coming in forced him, the same as with CERN, he had a problem. Why can't anybody solve the problem? If he had been at the university, we would never have had Einstein's relativity theory, because he wouldn't have been exposed to these patents. So I would say another thing that basically forces and drives and produces creativity and innovation is context. I have moved from UK to France. When I moved there, I was forced to reevaluate my value system. I moved to Switzerland. Again, new things, new ideas. I thought I knew everything in UK, and then I realized I knew nothing. And when I came to Sweden, wow. So it basically makes our brain grow to become open, which links in with the CERN thing. Yeah, where's my glass of water? Einstein, after his relativity thing, I think he sort of did that when he was about in his early 30s, 33 or something. And then we went on to this quantum stuff. And he spent the rest of his life trying to prove that God doesn't play dice. Because in these laws of relativity and everything before that, everything was structured and everything was ordered. Physics it was based on mathematics. So when this quantum stuff came around, another book. Why have I got a cat up on the screen? Can anyone tell me? You probably weren't the first, but I heard you the loudest. Yeah. So there is a predictable law on how the universe functions that we can rely on with our boxes, mathematics, and other stuff. And then we have this unpredictability factor. It's like a little bit scary. There we go. Now, quantum is a really exciting area because not even the experts, what they say basically is that if you think you understand quantum, then you don't, because even the experts don't get it. And now you're going to get some bonus points here, because what I want to hear is a couple of examples of why quantum is, in fact, for me, it's pure security. 2 examples. How do we use quantum in security? Anyone can tell me? Cryptography? Yeah. Not deep enough, not deep enough. No? Okay. You know, in quantum, the mere act, if you have particles, the mere act of a particle being observed will change its form. So, yeah, confidentiality, which is the closest. Because if you send a packet from A to B, and you're using quantum security, the mere act of if it's just observed, and this is where Schrodinger's cat comes in, because basically what they say is that the cat, whether it's alive or dead, it's a thought experiment, because, Einstein, he used to do a lot of thought experiments, and that's another thing I think is good. Problems and think. So thought experiments, and one of Schroeder, his thought experiments, he never did actually do this cat thing and put it in a box and, poison it. He just used to say, if this happened, this is basically what the result would be. And the result was that if you give a cat poison and it eats the poison, the cat will not be in a state of dead until the cat is actually observed. So you open up the box. That was the thought experiment. But of course, you can't prove it. So if you take this to security, we don't know why. The state of the packet changes just by the mere act of observation. Now, another application of security, in security, that is quantum, and that is, there's only one company that I know of, they're in UK actually, and this is generating random numbers, because quantum is linked to chaos and randomness. And one of the biggest flaws in cryptography is the random number generator. And I'm thinking, why isn't there more companies doing this? This is pure security. Okay, so this is 2 things in quantum, and there's a lot more than this. I think there's the confidentiality part of the quantum stuff. They have big research labs in Canada, so you can Google and find out more about that, but it's extremely interesting. Yeah, I know I probably forgot something here, but yeah. Basically, they were completely blocked in coming up with this quantum thing because they kept taking what they knew now. So, what's our base where we are now? Well, what's our norms? I talked about for example, when I lived in UK, I had my norms on what I understood to be right and what to be wrong. And all of my decisions will be based upon this. It's only been exposed to new things that I'm going to be opening my doors and have a new understanding. Now, what happened with quantum is that they were blocked because the problem is that nobody could understand why the numbers didn't add up in physics concerning matter, antimatter, and why there were spaces in the mathematical calculations. They did a lot of experiments. It's like CERN is not the first nuclear accelerator. There's actually one. They dug kilometers down in the Arctic Circle, so that they don't get interference from the rays from the sun, to sort of try and understand why is it that the mathematics don't add up. So they've done all the maths and they have all the answers, but 1 and 1 doesn't equal 2. And the reason why they couldn't move forward is because they kept thinking in the same way they'd been thinking before. Now, the two guys that actually made some progress on quantum, they made progress because they threw away the rule book on Newtonian, on all these traditional physics, and they sort of said, okay, let's accept that we don't understand it, but it's there. And from there, they were able to ask the right questions. Yeah. Accepting, okay. It's like if you take, I heard somebody speaking a couple of weeks ago in Sweden, very good guy, came from the UK. I can't remember, he's a hacker. But he said basically, we should stop thinking about stopping hackers. Just accept. You're going to get hacked. It's going to happen. And then you take the measures based upon that, and then you have a completely different approach to security. You encrypt your data. After all, all of your information, if you encrypt it, it's like this comes from the Jericho Forum, which was started up by David Lacey a few years ago, and they've disbanded it now. But that was based upon this, get rid of the boundaries and just encrypt the information. That's where it should start. And so if you say, okay, we're going to get hacked, so what do? You encrypt the information. After all, the parameters have changed. We're no longer in the days where we had a computer on our desk, and we would sit there in the morning, we'd log on at 9 o'clock and go home at 5 o'clock. No. We are walking, talking, living, breathing information creators, thanks to our digital devices that we carry with us all the time. Yeah. Now, another thing about, if we move on a little bit now from, we talked a little bit about out of the box. We've talked about what breeds innovation and creativity. We talked about bringing in context and wanting to solve a problem to come to a solution. But also we're going to talk a little bit about open systems and closed systems, because traditionally we had like a Newtonian approach to solving problems, which is like a box thing, a mail thing, where you sort of say, okay, I know what one is, and I know what the other one is, so 1 + 1 = 2, doesn't it? You have a computer system. You say, yeah, I got a problem here, I just take it apart, solve this part here, it's not working, solving this part here, and then put it back together again and it will be fine. Now, with open systems, and open systems is a whole new school of thought. Open systems communicate, they're very chatty and they're very connected. And open systems is I could say it's most likened to Eastern cultures, networking. So basically, what it's saying with open systems is that when you look at things from a holistic and system perspective, you need to also understand what the and is. 1 and 1 = 2. But just because you know 1 and 1 does not mean you know what 2 is. You need to start backwards. You start with the 2 and then you go backwards. It's another approach. Yeah, it's a fascinating area. With the fact is that I think that Ed said something. Can somebody give me an example of an open system? Come on. Huh?
Galaxy, the universe.
Yeah, that's a good example. I'm going to give away a lot of books here, because another example of an open system. No. Open system. Biological open systems. Who said life? What do you mean by life?
Well, we all grow, we live, we die. Human body.
are an open system. And I expect that with the women's wired-up brain, maybe we're more open than what men are. After all, the men seem to, according to certain sources, they live in boxes. The problem with a closed system, or this closed box approach, is that according to the second law of thermodynamics, do you know what happens? Anyone know the answer? The second law of thermodynamics. What? Oh, good, you can read, my goodness. I'm glad someone's reading the screen. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, it basically collapses on its own entropy. So you need to be careful, guys. You need us women. Without us, you won't be here anymore. Everything in nature is built upon the same sequence of numbers. Now, I'm going to jump over that. Yeah. Right, so basically, what I've been thinking about is how the match of women and men, chaos and predictability, is a fantastic marriage. Now, you know, what I'll go on to the next slide in a moment, but without the match of predictability and with chaos, you don't have stability. After all, nature is built upon predictability, numbers, and the laws of physics, and chaos and quantum that we just don't understand. But who understands women anyway? Not that women are quantum, but I think, you know, you probably relate to the chaos side of things. Now, so basically, I believe that a better gender balance would lead to better decisions. Because women, basically, they don't live in boxes. We are naturally systems thinking and connected, which is a bit scary for the guys sometimes. Yeah, women naturally give, whereas men naturally take, according to the first video we saw. I don't think it's true for all guys. I'm generalizing here. So, but anyway, that's basically what he said, and he's meant to be an expert. Right now, yeah, that's what women in Sweden do in summertime. I get involved in the local activities to, you know, blend in. Now, it makes me laugh when I hear that women need to go on assertiveness training. You know, because I'm thinking, yeah, but you know, a woman, she's in a room full of guys. She's one woman and 9 guys. And when he asked me if I'd come and talk about this thing, the question I asked myself, because I was sort of thinking, yeah, so what? You know, I did okay, actually. I did well. So, you know, what's the problem when I hear people telling me, yeah, but you know, I've hit the glass ceiling? I say, then well, find a bloody glass elevator. But it's not actually that easy. So I thought a little bit more about the number of times I've been in meetings. 1 woman, 9 men, and I have one of my crazy ideas, and there's 9 men in the room going, and they sort of shuffle it under the table. They say, we'll come back to it later, Karen. If I'd had 1 more woman in the room who just got where I was coming from, then I would have had more confidence to follow it through. And maybe I could have actually, and every woman in the room here, I didn't need assertiveness training. I thought about it because clearly, you know, whenever I was in the room, decisions that were where they agreed with me was normally technical and very concrete type stuff, where technically I was superior. But most of the time, I was overrode because nobody really understood where I was coming from. More women in the room with me, and I could have changed the world, or at least the little world that I was living in during the last 20 plus something years. I don't want to say how many years. So that is where I thought how I could have improved security. And also, if you imagine, you have more women in the room, so you have more women sort of saying, you know, agreeing with you. It also changed the whole dynamics in the workplace. When I was building up the security consulting organization for Hewlett-Packard in the Nordics, I managed to recruit a woman, which was quite cool. You know, I got 20 guys and 1 woman, and me. And as soon as a woman turned up in the office, I started wearing skirts. Me. Because it's sort of, you know, it was nice. And she would come in, she was from government, she was from the military. She was really tough. She used to go to the guys, I'm worth 5 of you. And the guys used to be terrified of her, and they just said, yes, yes, we agree with you. She was really good. But she used to come in, she was so confident, and she came from military. She used to wear dresses, and I started wearing skirts. I went to a shop, and I said to the lady in the shop, and I said, look, I need to wear a skirt and a dress. Can you show me what I need to buy so I don't look stupid, because I'm almost 50. You know? So it also changed me, because I was still a minority, but I had some support. It felt cool. Yeah. Yeah, credibility leads to high likelihood of action from the skeptics. Right, so basically, my time is up. Any open system has the capacity to respond to change and disorder by reorganizing itself up to a high level of organization. This is a fact. It happens in nature. And even with those 13 kids that Adam was talking about, yeah? Chaos actually organizes itself. So you don't need to be scared of us women. In the meantime, what do? Yeah, we need to send men on chaos acceptance training. That's what I think. And that's me finished.